Hey guys, Jim and Steve here, and today we're going to be going over one of my favorite decks, which I think is going to be a killer this format, Invoked Dogmatika. To get right into the list, it's about 18 engine cards for Invoked Dogmatika, so you get to run a ton of hand traps, great against Virtual World, only being pretty good in an open format against rogue decks. So let's jump right into it. Starting off with Invoked, we got triple Alistair and the double Invocation for our straight Invoked engine. Then for our Noodlers, we got triple Meltdown and a Terraforming. Only 8 cards, or 9 cards, sorry, including the terraforming. So it's pretty hard to get into. So you got to run a lot of draw power along with being able to search out pretty easy with terraforming meltdowns, not just for their protection effect, but to also just grab their Alistair. Best way to play the deck. Next, for our Dogmatic engine, we got a Punishment, 2 Flare, triple Ecclesia to search your Flare and Punishment, triple Nadir Servant to search your Ecclesia. This is going to be your only way to interact with your own extra deck with sending cards to the graveyard. I'm not a big fan of Dogmatica Maximus now. Dragon Link's not as good of a deck. You don't need to interact with your opponent's extra deck as much anymore. You only really need to send 2, maybe 3 cards ever out of your extra deck to the grave anymore. So this just really lets you clean it up and run a lot tighter of a toolbox extra deck. It feels a lot cleaner and it just runs a little bit better in my opinion. But you can try it out yourself and see how you feel. Next are our utility cards. We're running triple Potted Desires, a Schism, which is one of the only cards that you really need your Servant to get to, triple Punishment, and double Cyclone. Cyclone is your Mystic Mind out in your main deck. Deck really can't play through it otherwise. It's also just really good against utility, continuous spells and traps, and field spells. Virtual World, Chu-Chi, World Legacy, Guard Dragon, anything really that your opponent could have, this can interact really well with it. Ice Dragon's Person, one of my favorite cards in the main deck. It really wins games on its own, especially if you're going first. It locks up games you really have no right to win, especially against combo decks. If you get them to bait and negate out, well, they have just a couple monsters on the field, you can stop their whole turn. Schism goes into Window. Window wins a lot of duels on its own. Desires, you need the draw power. You have to risk banishing some cards, but 40 card deck, you need as much draw power as you can. And then for our hand traps, we got Driver. Then I got the rest of them. Gamma, Ash, Nibiru, Imperm. All 3 ofs, all really good. You get to run a massive amount of hand traps and interaction in this deck, which feels great in this format, especially early on. Imperm, I like it a little better than Effect Veiler right now, especially being able to set and negate Spell Trap Calm. It goes really good with a lot of decks that are playing some back row, not necessarily to use, but setting their Chu-Chis, having Guard Dragons up and trying to use their effect to move, being an extender like that. Nibiru, combo decks are running rampant still. Dragonling's probably not dead. For Noble's probably not dead. Virtual World definitely isn't dead. This is a really necessary card, especially in a deck like this. You need to run it at 3. Ash, probably one of the most generic and best hand traps in the format. There's not a deck you don't want to have it in against. Especially right now, it's just an amazing card. Gamma, you really need to run it just to out massive combo decks if you can't draw Nobiru. Gamma can end a lot of turns of combo decks, especially if you hit anything really. The starters, if you slap this on the Dragunity link that I can't think of the name, Romulus, it pretty much can stop a turn if they don't have a way to chain block it. If you slap this on a Lulu, it can end a turn. If you slap this on a Isolde, it can end a turn if they don't have enough Exenters, which they usually do, but that's why you run a ton of hand traps, so you can draw more than one. Alright, next, let's get right into extra deck. Elmash, Shakir, Gardena for your 2 starter links. Pretty much the easiest way to go into Mechaba. For my link 2, I'm running an Alistair Invoker. This could easily be replaced with a Halka Fibrax if you want to go into Selene easier, but I feel like this card is just so good in the deck. Having more access to your Invoke package is really nice, especially with this just being named Alistair. If you just have a raw Invoked and nothing to go with it, it's a lot nicer to be able to make this with 2 Dogmatica cards than to just have the 2 Dogmatica cards a lot of time. Especially after battle phase, it's just really nice. We got a Selene and access code. Selene's actually a lot easier to make in this deck than you'd think, especially if you can go into an Alistair first. It becomes really easy to make. You get a lot of spells in grave, in yours and your opponents, and making an access code talker on a simplified board state wins you pretty much any game you're playing against almost any deck. Then onto our stuff we use with our Dogmatic engine. We got tests, 2 of them, App Clone, 2 shaddolls to go with it, your Construct and your Window, and their Titaniclad. You honestly can probably only run 1 to test, and you'll never notice the difference if you want to run the extra Helk. And the Titaniclad is also kind of but it's really good if you want to just go full into your Dogmatic package. App Clone gets you your shaddolls trap from your deck. And you add it, pitch something, not really too complicated. Window wins games, especially if you have your Alistair and Grave, banish it off of the Ruck, I think it's called in English. And Construct is your target. If you don't have your Alistair and Grave, it's your light, make another Elshadol. If your trap gets popped, you can grab it back. Then for our Invoke fusions, we're running 4, Double Mechaba, a Purgatrio, and a Agodius. This card is amazing. Agodius has won so many games. Turn 2 or turn 3 Agodius, however you want to look at it. A lot of opponents just can't play through it. Being able to pop a monster on summon, then their turn pop another monster that they control. It's really backbreaking, especially if you also have interaction on top of that. Purgatrio closes out a lot of games, being able to swing into everything. It can make a lot of damage out of nowhere. Not much else to be said. And then Double Mechaba, you need to run 2. First one gets out, you can make a second one, or you can end the board with 2 Mechabas if you have a really good hand, and that's also really nice. And lastly, on the sideboard, it's not really finished right now, but this is my guess for the format. Still want to run Lancia. It's your best dinosaur out. They really can't play through this. Best board they can end on is like a single Pankratops if they can't banish, so works really well. Dark Ruler, need to run Dark Ruler to out any combo deck. Without Dark Ruler, you lose to a lot of things that just say you don't get to play the game. 2 or 3 negates, and this deck can't really play through it. Solemn Judgment, it's really just for going first. It wins you any game you get to draw going first, but it's also a really hard brick going second. So you want to just run in the sideboard. And for the last little bit in our side deck, we got triple evenly matched. This is against a mirror or any other control deck. There's probably going to be a lot more slow decks now. That Dragon Link and Inferno Light got hit a little bit. For a lot of 1-ofs, you got Red Reboot, Harpy's Feather Duster, Pankratops, Pank for wing second, Duster for backward decks, Red Reboot for backward decks. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Any questions, comments, leave them in the comment section. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you.